Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you kind of like my technique for weed eating, where I start at. A lot of people have been asking about this. I don't do a whole lot of mowing footage, but I did want to put something together for you guys who have been asking. I always start in the bottom right hand corner of the property, and I'm actually doing what I typically don't do, which is weed eating the edge of the drive first. I typically will skip over the drive. I've done a video on that in the past, but this one is a little bit different, and it's an anomaly. Again, I am weed eating by myself today, so I am doing things a little bit differently. But I do not typically trim all the way up edges of concretes and sidewalks. The mower deck hangs off far enough where it allows me to get close enough that it saves me a ton of time. But I did want to go ahead and put this together for you today, for those who have been asking about a little bit of weed eating footage and kind of, just figuring out the flow of what I do. But try to make it a point to just, weed eat behind those hose holders and those types of things. It's very easy to just kind of gloss over those and just not put much effort into that. But I'll tell you, people do appreciate that. If you'll just take a quick second to reach down there and just kind of just take care of it. One thing that I do too, see up here where the mower has like kind of curved off and made like a curve. The OCD in me has got to get this all perfectly straight. So I just weed eat down to the property line just to make sure whenever you're looking at the property, everything is just completely squared off. It's just something that I do, and most professional lawn guys will do it as well. See, I'm skipping the drive right here. This is typically how I would start. I would just start in the right and then skip this drive. But for whatever reason, the workflow was a little bit different on this particular property, again, because I was working by myself. But you see me at a pretty decent pace here. If I'm ever just on a wide open area, I'm moving pretty good. I'm not trying to move faster in this video because, I'm filming. This is typically just my normal workflow right here. Now, what I do is I will not come off the edge or the perimeter of a lawn until I am at the closest point for weed eating whatever object is in the center of that lawn. So see how I'm skipping all this right here on the right? It's because I just want my workflow to stay completely smooth. So meaning that I'm not going to weed eat anything near here to the right. I'm just going to jump straight in the backyard and weed eat this fence perimeter all the way around. And again, I will come off these fence perimeters only if I am at the closest spot to an object in the yard. So if there was a tree in this yard, I would wait until I get almost directly beside it before I pull off the perimeter here, okay? So we're fixing to get to the corner here in this particular backyard, and there is a lot of trimming to do. Typically, I can get way closer with the mower, but what you're going to see is I'll try and take a back shot with this video so you can see. But there is I'm actually weed eating on a huge hill right now, and the mower couldn't get down here. It's very uneven and very bumpy. And this is about as close as I could get. But you can see we're moving along at a pretty good clip here. And I think I did look back. Yes, I did. It's hard to tell in that video, but it is pretty steep down there. And the mower, it just wants to just slide into the fence, if you get too close there. So I move at a pretty good clip whenever I'm weed eating, guys. I don't, typically sit there and try to get every little great blade of grass around every nook and cranny. I've just found that there comes a point of diminishing returns on clients' lawns, and doing a good and thorough job is good enough. You literally don't have to get every single blade, which is really why I have stopped weed eating around air conditioner units. I will get in there and get close enough, but if I see any wires dangling around in air conditioner units, no, I'm just not interested, especially on older homes that don't have those protected. It's just a major liability issue, and again, I get close enough, but I'm not interested, in getting back and making any type of damage to those units. But yeah, always clean up real good around porch areas, anywhere that people are going to be, accessing their backyard or front lawns, or you just kind of have to think whenever they walk out, what is the first thing they see? And if they look down and see, little weeds just sticking up, and those little papers that they had set out there, it just wouldn't look good. So I could not mow in this area because I did not have my discharge chute on my small mower today. So what I had to do is had to come in here and weed eat, and that mower was just going to throw weeds and grass and debris all in those rocks, which really those rocks are going to turn into a weed fest as it is. But that's why I had to weed eat so much right here. Typically, I could just drive my small mower or 36 inch right in here and handle it. But all that in there, can you see there is flower bed weed barrier in there? That was a bed that she's working on. I'm not weed eating anything in there. She had vegetables in there at some point. So if it doesn't have a border around it, it doesn't get, it has to have a border around it is what I'm saying for me to, know that it is a bed that needs to be trimmed around. But you can see that I'm using the PAS system instead of an actual dedicated weed eater. And the reason is because I've just found that you can get those, instead of getting the SRM 222, I think that thing's like $220 right now. You can get the PAS system for only $40 more. Well, now you can switch out your weed eater to an edger if you need it. And the reason that I use it, I don't use it like that typically. I use it as having hedge trimmers on board. So my weed eater is actually my hedge trimmer. I have multiple attachments. That keeps me from having, a long set of hedge trimmers, a short set of hedge trimmers, a weed eater, an edger. I can just use one system, and whenever I get out and, and help the guys, it just keeps me from having 4 different engines. And that's the thing, too, is like, if you end up having a set of hedge trimmers that break, man, it's just so nice to be able to take those, shears off that broke, put on a new set for $100, and that way you're not having to buy a whole new set of hedge trimmers. Those hedge trimmers are like $400. But you can see the workflow again. I'm just, hitting the perimeter and everything, and then I just finished right here on the edge. This is typically right here is where I would go back up this drive, and then I would finish right here where I started. That's typically how I would finish. What I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to trim this with the trimmer, and you see how I do it right here. I will just walk forward with it, and I hold the trimmer behind me, okay? Now, I walk backwards a lot too, and sometimes it's easier for me to get a clean cut that way. But if I'm doing a lot of trimming, or edging, then I will go ahead and put on the edger attachment for my combi system or my PAS system. But for a nice little tight sidewalk like this, and again, I'm going slower than I normally would on this just to show you guys. This is a very, very easy way for me to just, knock those little grass edges down and then keep going while I'm weed eating. So I think right here I do turn it over just to show you how I do it. Whenever I flip the weed eater, I just use my thumb and walk backwards, and it's a lot easier to get. And many times for me, it's just a lot easier to get a clean cut this way. You can even do it this way, walking forward. There's just so many different ways to do it. And if you got cars in the way, you kind of have to just do a little bit of everything. But one thing you got to be careful of, man, is you really, they're out there, I was just checking the road to make sure I wasn't walking out in front of a vehicle. Really got to be careful whenever you're doing this of not slinging rocks and debris into cars. Really the best way to do this is to use a dedicated edger. But, if you're doing just a little maintenance cut, like a little cleanup here like I'm doing, then having, the weed eater just, perform that duty is something that I do pretty frequently just to kind of keep my times down on the lawns. But I think I get a decent shot here. So, that's not bad, for the weed eater, instead of having to come in there with the axe. And that's the other thing about, edging with a weed eater is that you can go out there and clean up those curbs there at the end if you forget to do that whenever you are actually weed eating. But go ahead and get this blower cranked up and going. I used to use the Echo, the PB, I think it was the 580T. But, man, it seems like we were only getting like 6 months out of them things before they just started like really bogging down. I mean, don't get me wrong, they would still work and crank and they would run, but they just lost power so quickly. We bought a BR600 last year for one of the crews, and they have absolutely loved it, and it's held power all year. So that's what we've switched to. We have switched to the BR600, and that's I just bought myself this new one right here myself from a buddy who was getting rid of it. They ended up getting a hold of that bigger BR800. He's in his words, he said it would peel the dang grass off the off the soil, but we don't need that. We are primarily servicing. Oh, one other thing too is whenever I'm blowing, guys, I do hit these fences. If we're blowing grass and stuff on there from trimmings or whatever, people really appreciate if you'll just take the extra time just to knock that down. And again, it ain't gotta be everywhere, but like if you see like a big clump of it, man, just like just do it the way that you would want it done. And again, I'm kind of taking it easy here because that rock, that pea gravel, is going to turn into a complete nightmare, a weed fest, and I can't really blow that without it blowing all into the yard. But again, back to the BR600, it's been a good blower for us for a year and a half. Again, the crew really liked it, so I picked myself up one the other day, and I gotta say, I do think it is a better blower than the Echo 580T. It's comfortable, it's light, has a lot of power, and I've been really enjoying this blower. Although it is substantially more expensive than the Echo, but you know what? This is what we're switching to. I'll just leave it at that. Look, they have seriously been leaking some oil onto the car, or onto the driveway there. And one thing you'll notice too is, like, I have not discharged a pile of grass onto the driveway. I make it a point not to do that whenever I'm blowing. Most of the grass that I get on the drive is from the actual trimming itself, because I've been told that I walk backwards with the trimmer. But you know what? That's how I do it. It works for me. Oh, and I always bring trash cans back. Like, if the trash service is already ran and the trash can is empty, I don't mind, just picking that up and bringing it back to the clients. And I'll tell you, I have had on more than one occasion somebody send me an email and say, hey, I just want you to know I really appreciate that. It's nice coming home from work and the trash can is up. So it's the little things, just being mindful of your clients, and, just kind of doing some things here and there that shows them that, like, hey, I'm literally not trying to just blow, mow, and go. Like, I'm actually taking a look on your property here and making sure I'm trying to do a good job. So that's what we did here, guys. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you give it a like and a little comment. Let me know if you weed eat the same way I do, if you do it backwards, or if I'm crazy. I did this yard, I think, in 21 minutes, and I was going really slow.